health is in your hands. It's not in anyone's hands. It's not in doctor's hands, medicine's hands, no. You don't know when once you get a disease, what will happen to you. The greatest neurosurgeon, one of the best neurosurgeons in America, an Indian boy, youngster, very interesting boy. He gets cancer at a young age, lung cancer. Boy who married an American girl, they were planning to have a child, and he gets a little cough and loses weight, and then writes a book. Bookkude peru endu mane? Good girl. Molu nalla mola. Parai. When breath becomes air. You must read that book. You will cry. You will cry. He's the best boy, best neurosurgeon, and he is supposed to be the best. And 5 universities wanted him as professor, but he chooses his own university, Stanford, and joins there. His wife is an internist, and they join, and then they choose the best cancer specialist in America, because there, Western says, just Google it, and they get the best cancer specialist. And this girl says, don't worry, your cancer has 3 treatments. 1, a tablet a day, 20 years life. If it fails, chemotherapy, 5 years of life. If it fails, radiation, surgery, another 5 years of life. So you have another 25 years of life, you can plan your family. Husband and wife plan for a child. And she becomes pregnant. Tablet fails, chemotherapy fails, cut the long story short, he dies. But before dying, he writes this book. This boy has done masters in English literature before going to the medical school in Yale, and he is a fantastic English, I tell you. This is a book worth its weight in gold. When breath becomes air. What a beautiful thing. When breath becomes air is a poem written by Walt Whitman, and the same poem's title he takes for the book. And if you read that book, you know this relying on doctors, medicines, and things like that is like relying on the devil. You rely on yourself. You say, let me not get cancer. If I get cancer, God only can help. I mean, if money can do and treatment, Jayalalitha would have died. Would she have died? She shouldn't have died. Because she can command anything in the world. But then, it has limitations. That is why, don't get into a situation where you go into that, what is called the mortuary, pre-mortuary, that is intensive care unit. Ultimate destination is the mortuary, but before that you go through the intensive care unit so that you drain yourself of all your savings and your other things. So, lifestyle. What a beautiful saying. Very simple, very simple. Eat half of what you want to eat. Supposing you want to eat 4 idlis, stop at 2 idlis. You will live probably another 20 years longer. Studies showed rats fed full stomach lived half the time of rats just fed half stomach. Can you believe that? So stop when you think you can eat equal amount. And eat in moderation and don't have any restrictions. Who told you must have a breakfast in the morning, a lunch in the afternoon and evening? Nothing. Whenever you feel hungry, you eat something. When you don't feel hungry, don't eat nothing. So eating at, in the olden days, one pediatrician killed a lot of children in America. He said, time feed a child. 2 o'clock, breastfeeding, 3 o'clock, something else, 4 o'clock, something else. Then when a lot of children died, he said, I'm sorry. Child knows when it wants food. It cries. Feed it. Don't overload it. There are even now Western aping Indian mothers who feed by the clock. Don't do that. You also don't do that. But one good advice which I gave yesterday is good. Don't eat after the sundown. These Jains, the Jiten and all, they don't eat after sundown. They call it as palahara. That means they eat everything other than rice. That's Alona. That's what happens. But anyway, we had a lot of good ideas. Don't eat. Number 2, help as many people as you can. Each time you help somebody, that fellow will not be grateful to you. Forget it. He'll be ungrateful to you. But you are benefiting yourself. Because your body is built in such a way that paropakarartham idam shariram. You are here for others. And so try to do good to everybody. But the minute you do some good to somebody, follow Jesus. Let not the right hand know what the left hand does. Forget. And if you forget, you're happy. If you don't forget, and if you say, okay, I help B.M. Hegde, and when B.M. Hegde harms you, you feel terribly bad. And there was Ashutosh Mukherjee was a great teacher in Bengal. He was told one day, by, he was an old man, somebody said, see, so-and-so was bad-mouthing you so badly. Then he smiled. Here, I am telling you the truth, why are you smiling? He smiled and said, no, I am only thinking, when did I help him? Because if you don't help somebody, they won't bad-mouth you. So you forget, but help you must. You must go out of your way to help sometimes. Because it helps you. Because he is you. Remember that? You and I are just leptoquarks. He is a leptoquark. And the same leptoquark exchanges between you and him. And you have the same consciousness and same mind. And his mind and your mind are connected. So if you help someone else or someone else helps you, he or she gets the benefit out of it. And that's the next thing that you do. Ayurveda is so good. Nitya, Hita, Mita, Ahara, Sevi. In moderation, what you like. A lot of people say, you sit down there and say, does it have cholesterol? Does it have this, that? That itself will give you blood pressure. Whether it is cholesterol or poison, you eat it, finished. And this eating that we have been doing, our ancestors have been doing, has come by what's called observational research. Why didn't people eat some poisonous fruit? They have seen over thousands of years that eating that fruit will kill you. And how did we choose? Who told you to eat rice? Who told you to eat wheat? Like, for example, why do you eat potato and sweet potato? Solanaceae plants are there in the wild for 500 varieties, but only 2 varieties you eat. The rest of them are all poisonous. So we are so lucky. There's so much research in the past. Today's research is what? Measuring things. Do you know what is called the Western research called? Fish net hypothesis. How many of you know what is fish net hypothesis? Really? John von Neumann is a great, Hungarian-born American chemist who got the Nobel Prize for chemistry. He said, fish net hypothesis. Ichthyologists, fishes. These fishes went to the sea to study fish. So they caught fish, came back to the laboratory, used a vernier caliper, measured everything up and down and said, one conclusion. What's the hypothesis? All sea fish are bigger than 2 inches in length. That became a proposal. It became hypothesis, then became thesis, and then became a theory. That's how science is. You know what is thesis? I asked a lot of these PhD students in the exam, I said, what is thesis? Thesis, sir, is writing about, sir, this is a dissertation, sir, it's this, sir. But what is the meaning of the word thesis? Thesis, sir, thesis. This is how we study in our schools. Just mug up. Do you know what thesis is? Thesis is a table in the king's court in the olden days. So if you have a theory or if you have a proposal, if the king accepts it, you can keep it on the table. That's called thesis. Today, there's PhD. And if it can't be kept there and the king rejects it, you keep it under. It's called hypothesis. That's the truth. But how many PhD students know the etymological meaning of the word thesis? That's the problem. Anyway, come back. Then what happened? After some time, another group of ichthyologists went to the sea and they caught fish. Their fish had a smaller net hole. So even 1-inch fish were caught. So their hypothesis said 1 inch also can be sea fish. So another thesis. So the present science of the West, only 5 senses. And these 5 senses measure whatever they measure at the given time. And that's called the final word, which is not. And if you go with the smaller net to the sea, you can get 1/2 inch fish also. It's called fish net hypothesis. Please go and read that fish net hypothesis. Read a little more and then you get, what all things happen in this world, you just don't know. This world is not what you see. Remember that? So, the man who got the Nobel Prize and the alternate Nobel Prize and wrote about what is called the real A-duality, says this world is Wirklichkeit. Wirklichkeit in German means drama.